Hey, everybody. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. Come on in, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask an Educator. Sophia Speaks edition. Listen, I am so excited that you are here with us. We are going to have such an incredible conversation. I am excited. I got my new mic, so I'm feeling it. We are going to have a good time. Listen, I always like to share just a little bit about what we're going to be talking about for every season of Sophia Speaks, Ask an Educator. I always like to create a bit of a theme. And so the last episode that we had kicking off season 3 was with another KC educator, Daniel, who is doing some incredible things with Guadalupe Charter Schools as an art teacher, first year teacher. But next up, I want to bring someone who's a little bit more seasoned, has some years of experience under her belt, but I really wanted to focus on the first 10 years because the first 10 years in the classroom are pretty crucial for every educator. Studies show and prove that the first 5 years, teachers really make a decision, man, do I really want to stick this out or what? So I want to bring to the stage another KC educator. We're fellow alum in a variety of spaces that we're going to talk about, but just an all-around dope human who is doing some incredible things in the bilingual education front as she's kicking off her 9th year in the classroom. I just want to give it up and bring to the stage none other than Miss Olivia Flores. How are you doing this afternoon, friends?
I'm doing so well. Can you hear me okay? I'm in my school right now.
Thumbs up,
Awesome.
girl. I I already know because sometimes like the internet can be botchy in our school buildings, right?
Sometimes, yes, yes. Just finishing up a field trip and ending my day here.
Yes, and we definitely want to hear all about your field trip. We've got some love from Philly. I'm just gonna throw up some comments here as they come through. Good afternoon from Philly. That's my good friend Maritza, who I met at the Pennsylvania Latino Convention. She is doing some incredible things. Thank you for joining us, Maritza, in the house. Let's go. Listen, I'm just so excited that we finally get a chance to have a conversation. And who would have thought it would be like literally online, right?
Yes, I know. Have we ever met in person? We met in person once, I think.
Yes, we met in person. I was doing a keynote in Kansas City, and
Mhm.
I was at Guadalupe. They're all school convocation. So it was an all staff. It was one of my favorite keynotes of this year, BTW. And we met like
Oh,
in a sandwich shop, right? Algo así. It was like
Ruby
a
jeans,
restaurant.
Ruby
Mira.
jeans. I'm always over there.
Oh my God. And it was so delicious, by the way. Let me just tell you, the food over there was flame. But yeah,
Mhm.
so we met in line and like you recognized me and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. So we have a lot of things in common. But let's just get the conversation started, right? Because like everybody wants to know who Miss Olivia is, Miss Flores. Talk to us. I can't wait to have this incredible conversation with you kicking off, right? I really want to hear from educators in the first 10 years. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your cultural landscape, who are your people, who is Miss Flores?
Well, I'm an educator through and through. I'm from Chicagoland area. My people, I love how you worded that question. Where are my people from? So my people are from two different places, 50-50. My father is a Mexican immigrant. He grew up in the States in Chicago. And my mother is third generation Irish. So we're very Irish American, huge family, one of 8. And I'm living that mixed ethnicity life. I grew up in the burbs of Chicago. My parents met there, and I've just been really passionate about literature. I think it's the coolest way to um, nation build, and it's the most interesting and fun education or like pursuit. I think it's really challenging. And so I can't imagine doing something different where I couldn't until I made my way into bilingual education just 4 years ago.
I love that. And we already have a couple of things in common. First of all, I'm from Chicago. Now now I'm in the Chicagoland area. So what's
Yeah.
up with that? Hello. And definitely bicultural. I'm a Mexican and I know you
Yes.
share several landscapes. Yep. And so just kind of like being in that same vein and understanding, right, how to circumnavigate two different cultures that our
Yeah.
parents are from. I think there's a lot to be said there because you
Yeah.
definitely want to lean into both. And sometimes it could be challenging and sometimes it could be fun. We could maybe
Hmm.
talk about that a little bit later. But we're
Yeah.
both English teachers, AP English
Yep.
teachers.
Yes.
Let's go. So much in common.
We have
Bilingual
so much
education.
in common.
I
It's
love
wild.
it. You know what? We are here for it. And I really believe that the law of attraction is real. Like-mindeds kind of like draw to each other. And at some point in our paths, we end up intersecting. And so I'm just excited to continue this conversation with you. But tell us about your teaching journey to the classroom. Like, how did that
Hmm.
happen? Like, how did that come about? And who can you credit?
Yeah, I think it's been something that was in me since my education, being a student. And honestly, at this point too, I feel like there's just so much for me to still learn. I still
Mm,
feel like I might need to be a student again. Um, but really, when I was in high school, or really throughout my education, I really looked up to my teachers. My first teachers, of course, my family, my parents, and then later on, I was just so enthralled by the whole act of education. Just getting it's such a people business. It involves so many different things. You have to know the content, and then you have to know the best way to execute it, and then you have to know the best way for people to receive it. It's
mm,
strategic, it's challenging. Um, and I loved the idea that you can just dedicate your time, you get compensated for your time for helping to work with people and facilitate conversations and understand their ideas and make them feel valued, and then help them grow those ideas and foster it and give them confidence. I just thought, like,
mm,
what other thing is more fun and more challenging? And it was really just a matter of making sure that I knew that English was something that was worthy to be pursued. I really do grapple with the idea that I was able to and encouraged to follow my passion for literature. And as much as I'm a textbook or extrovert, no pun intended, I really I just think literature is just such a great vehicle through which you can
mm.
have great conversations. So it wasn't very difficult for me. I mean, I think I looked up to my AP teachers a lot in high school. I thought they were so rigorous and so cool, and I was just like this huge nerd, and I admired them a lot. Shout out to Mr. Fezzik and Mr. Rossi and the whole Nico Valley team. I got really lucky. I got to attend a really rigorous public school, and I just really valued that. So I majored in English literature. I minored in educational studies, and then
Mm.
a moment of trying to consider my identity brought me to a scholarship that I kind of applied for in secret, didn't tell my family about, and that sent me to study abroad in Argentina, which kind of started my more intense study of Spanish. So
Mm.
I've always kind of really been involved in English literature, education, Spanish, and then I got my master's in teaching.
That is so awesome, man. I'm just so excited to hear anyone who journeys to the classroom and just
Yeah.
really gathers their collection of experiences to really just create such an opportunity, right, for your future students and that studying abroad. Tell us about that. Like, let's just pause right there and put a pin in it because you and I, as I was mentioning, as I was dropping our graphic on socials, I'm like, Miss Olivia and I are globetrotters. And
Mhm.
so, like, Argentina, tell us about that. Tell us about your experience there, some of the treasures that you picked up, and some of your most memorable moments there. Tell us about that.
Well, I have to go back to your first question about my people, because part of what's interesting about that question, I am a globetrotter. I'm kind of like the first one in my family, aside from my father being an immigrant, of course, but I was kind of the one who really wanted to just go and figure it out. I had a very strong desire that I later found out I was kind of suppressing, to learn Spanish and get close to my culture again. All of my Mexican cousins are mixed. And so I realized that if the language stopped with our generation, and if I didn't pursue it, it really could stop there, that the next generations of our families wouldn't learn it through family and through our Mexican culture necessarily. So yeah, it was really important to me. But what's funny about your question was that I have like such a closeness to my Irish side, my Mexican side, but I also have this really close group of Indian friends from Chennai. So I'm just very connected to Indian culture through my really close friendships. So I always identify too with my very close group of friends from India. But yeah, study abroad, it's such a dramatic story, actually. It's so unnecessarily dramatic. Can you
Tell us? Yes, tell us.
So I think in college I assumed that there was only a certain group of people who could study abroad, that it was people who just automatically had the means and the, I don't know, just the families that have had people study abroad in the past and knew that they could afford it on the spot or whatever it is.
Access. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just wasn't even though I was so bolstered in my childhood, I had such great people around me who like listened to me and made me feel like I had valuable ideas and had a lot of potential. It's almost like until someone tells you that you can do something, it's very hard to give yourself permission for it. Even if you know that you can do anything, I think there's something to be said for, man, like we just got to start saying things to people and making sure that they know they have permission, and allowing themselves to hear it and manifest it and whatever it is. But I was just kind of suppressing this desire to study abroad. I didn't want to bring up to my family. I didn't want them to be concerned by this dream, thinking like, oh, how are we going to, make this happen for her or help her? I didn't want them to help me. I didn't want them to have to worry about it, because I knew I was kind of the first one to dream this. My twin later actually received Fullbright to Mexico. And we were on Fullbrights just 1 year after the other.
I love it.
But for me, in study abroad, I was really the first one. And so I was walking through the student union building. It was my junior year. I thought that I had kind of suppressed the dream. And then I see this poster that says, "It's not too late to study abroad." And it made me so mad. I was like, it is too late. I purposely pushed this off until I couldn't apply anymore. And now it's saying it's not too late. So I like angrily walked into this office, and this study abroad representative, her name is Mandy. She knows who I am to this day because I tell her the story all the time. And I walked in, I said, like, can you just tell me that this is impossible? Like, I just want to know that I won't be able to afford this. I can't do this. And she says, okay, sit down. And she asked me, what do you have? I said, I work 4 jobs on campus, basically, but I have no other savings. And she said, well, that's hard, but there's one scholarship that can pay for it. And it was the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship. And they give scholarships to Pell Grant recipients. I got that, and then another supplementary scholarship, and it was all paid for. And so I kind of had to tell my family that within a month and a half or so, I'd be studying abroad. They didn't know. They didn't really know. I kind of mentioned it once. I was like, I applied for this thing. I'm not going to get it. And they're like, okay. But soon enough, I got my passport, and I studied abroad in Argentina, where there's this intermediate program. Learned a very different type of Spanish from my Mexican family Spanish from Veracruz. But I was so happy to be fully immersed, to have this intensive program that really worked on like intermediate speakers. All my classes were in Spanish. amazing experiences. Got to visit Patagonia. I got to sing on one of the oldest theater stages in Buenos Aires. I forgot the words. Also a wild experience, forgetting the words while you're singing on this really famous stage. I got a B in that class. That wasn't good. And then I learned how to tango and learned about the culture. And
Wow.
I adored the experience. And mostly, I mean, the most important thing was I learned that even if I think something's impossible, it really is not. It changed my life. It changed the whole trajectory of my life. That just realizing that I could do something when I thought that it wasn't available to me.
Absolutely. And so this study abroad, is this the Fullbright or was this a different program?
No,
Okay, so
this
was a different program.
A scholarship for college students who are Pell Grant recipients. And it helps people study abroad who don't think that they can.
Got you. And we've got some love in the chat here. We've got a mutual friend. Hello from Kansas City, Josue, who is in the house. He is connected to the LEC family and definitely connected to us on some fronts. And then Maritza coming back telling us that's an amazing experience of yours. And she loves the Argentinian accent.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it was incredible.
I came back with the weirdest accent, like for my family. It's not a weird accent. It's a beautiful accent. And they
show
use
us. Can you say something that's very Argentinian?
I don't even know how to do a Mexican accent. So now yo vivía en Colombia, yo vivía en Argentina y también mi familia es mexicana.
Sí.
Mexicana. Y yo cuando regresé when I came back from Argentina, en vez de decir me llamo Olivia or some, form of that, I would say me llamo Olivia. Me llamo Olivia. Like just the double, and I still do it to this day. I tell kids to get in their seat, sisha, instead of silla. So it's like the double L is like more of a sh, and then instead of yo, it's more of like a cho. Well, now I'm mixing it up with the Colombian. So I don't know, actually. Like my Spanish is a mixture of all of my experiences, and I can't really make it change that much. It's very gringa, and then also like all of those experiences.
And I love that you say that because culture is such a culmination of so many different experiences. I think that there's something to be said about the accent. I think that there's something to be said about us as adults learning Spanish at different levels. I didn't learn Spanish, me personally, till I was in my teens, going into my 20s and upward. And so learning Spanish, and then I'm learning Puerto Rican Spanish. So la gente puede hablar, pero muy rápido. Y, mi español es un poquito diferente. Because I learned it from my Puerto Rican family. I live in the Chicagoland area. So imagínate, like there's a big, robust Puerto Rican area within the city of Chicago, where I was just around all the time. But I think that that's just so beautiful. And something else that you said that I think warrants us to put a pin in is for us to believe the impossible, right? Because studying abroad and applying for these grants and really putting ourselves out there as lifelong learners and educators and students, it takes a lot of bravery. And that's something that we really have to dig down deep because, first of all, these are very competitive grants and opportunities. Second of all, they don't pass it out to just anybody. And then third of all, if we do get them, we really have to like adjust our lives to pursue them and to fulfill like the requirements or what we're set out to do. You've got so much love in the chat here, girl. Let me put up here Grace, who said something here. I love hearing the story every time, she was mentioning. You are an inspiration. So shout out to Grace, who's in the house, who's coming to support you. And then she also said here, just more and more love in the chat here as it's trying to come up.
Funny thing about Grace is actually we met in Kansas City and we didn't realize it, but we lived 25 minutes away from each other. We both lived in very small cities of Colombia. And she lived 25 minutes away from me for the same 2 years that I was there. And we met each other's mutual friends, and we didn't know this connection until we met in Kansas City.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, she said the same thing twice. So I had it up. That's why I paused. Pero she put the same thing twice. Apparently, she really loves to hear this story. Maritza coming back. Thank you for the comments. Keep them going. This is beautiful. Our culture is not monolithic. Absolutely neither is the Spanish language. Absolutely. My Dominican sister, Maritza, absolutely. There's so many different nuances to the cultures that represent this vast diaspora. And we're just excited to represent in this space. Oh, but look who just showed up. We got Dr. Nikki up in the house. Seeing yourself and experiences not always available to Black and brown folks is a message meant for our students. Absolutely. Yeah. Like my students tell me all the time, Ms. G, like, how are you on planes and how are you with this fellowship and this fellowship? I'm like, listen, nothing is impossible. Absolutely nothing is impossible, and you deserve to take up space. And not only do you deserve to take up space, but you deserve for somebody to hold space for you. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's such an opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Nikki, for folks like you to be a role model to your students. And I know we were talking about this, and we need to get to it, because this is something that I am just extremely proud of. But we're both Fullbrighters, and Fullbright, let's tell the people about Fullbright. I got some of your pictures that are just going to serve as like an okay. Here you are. Please tell us about your Fullbright. I'll tell you about my Fullbright. I didn't have time to drop some pictures in because it is all about you. Pero tell us about, man. Okay, I'm gonna throw one up that's gonna be full screen. All right.
Boy.
Tell us what Fullbright is for those who don't know,
Sure.
And tell us what your experience was.
After that experience with the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship, like I said, it completely changed my trajectory, because not only did I realize that I can pursue Spanish as like a means of understanding my culture better. And to be clear, I don't think that language always is a necessity for understanding or acknowledging your culture. But I do, for me, it was definitely a means of doing that. It was so important to me to learn. But after that, I really was able to understand also that experiences could be something that I pursue. And I was putting limitations on myself. Like Dr. Blakeney was referring to, like it's very difficult to figure out what is accessible, especially for our students. And I had the privilege of, being around a lot of people pursuing opportunities who did look like me. Being a white Latina, I did have that privilege. And yet still, I didn't, because of my family situation, my economic situation, not having that example in front of me, it still was very difficult for me to make that jump. But after the Gilman Scholarship, I had a lot more confidence, and I had a dream in front of me, and that was Fullbright. I really wanted to find another paid opportunity to go abroad, because I knew that otherwise I wouldn't be able to. Everything has to be, and for me, in my career and in my life, I very much want to pursue opportunities where organizations like Fullbright, organizations like the Department of Education, school systems, districts, where they will invest in me, and that they will allow me to have these experiences. And that's absolutely what Fullbright's mission is. I think originally it was created to improve international ties between countries. It's a grant program where like grantees from another country can come and receive grants to study or teach in the United States. And there are so many branches now of different programs in Fullbright. Totally. But then also U.S. Americans can go to other countries and complete research projects or teach. I completed a teaching assistantship where I was a professor and also teaching assistant in Colombia. My twin was teaching assistant in Mexico. And I was just so excited that Fullbright even existed. I really knew that I needed to be immersed in Spanish again. I really, really desired to be in a Spanish-speaking country again. And although I knew I wasn't applying for my father's country, I think exactly like the themes of what we're saying right now, it's just so valuable to get to know different Latin American countries. Especially for Colombia, I really enjoyed too that the cultures are so diverse. It was really really meaningful to me that I can go to a Latin American country that has such a strong and rich Afro-Latino population, in this case, Afro-Colombian. And that was just beautiful. That was beautiful to get to see just so many different corners of this country, and to get to know a South American country that's not immediately related to my family. So yeah, Fulbright was my beautiful ticket to getting to know Colombia, to improving my fluency better. And then I signed on for a second year to be a senior English teaching assistant. So I was able to be there actually for 2 grant periods.
You are just so cool. And let me tell you something about Fulbright. It's connected to the U.S. Department of State, and it is the mother flagship of teacher exchanges, not just from the U.S. to outside countries, but from outside countries into the U.S. And they just recently celebrated their 75th anniversary. Let's just say that. And interestingly, first of all, I love that you have a twin. Oh my gosh, I'm sure that
she's also an educator, very talented activist. I mean,
can't. Okay, I need to line her up. She might be next coming up on the podcast. And I applied to Fulbright Mexico and I didn't get it. So
it's competitive. She's a boss.
I mean, it is super competitive.
I'm glad that you're interviewing me first, because she would make me look bad. I could not go after her.
No, not even. Y'all have your own light, but I could totally feel where you're coming from. Like, man, it is just like so competitive. But when I went to India just this past summer, and it's funny that you were mentioning that you have such a strong, like, ties to the Indian culture. Man, the same thing for me. It just really just opened up my mind, and it really gave me an opportunity to examine the state of education from a global perspective, because all that I have been immersed in is the Latino culture, both from a local and from a global perspective. I've spent a lot of time in Puerto Rico doing some work with my nonprofit organization. Then I went to El Salvador. I've been serving them for about 11, 12 years now. That's where my spouse is from. And, the blood that's in my kids' veins. I love me some pupusas, and I love the people. And so I was there. Then I went to Costa Rica. Then I went to Panama. And so, really coming out of our cultural landscape, it really gave me such a broader view, and just falling in love, like, with the culture and the food. And it was just so interesting. It was a lot of traffic like that. I really had to get used to, and just how overpopulated, how densely populated it was. And just the sounds of the mopeds, and like, I was like, yo, what's happening? Like, superly overly stimulated, but just really having an incredible time. And I'm sure that you could testify to this too. You saw some incredible landmarks. Like, I was able to see the Taj Mahal, one of the 7 wonders of the world. I went to King's Palaces. I saw Buddha, like the big statue, and like, man, it was incredible as an educator, as an activist, as a Latina, as a woman. Man, it just really gave us such an opportunity. So for those of y'all who are listening under the sound of our voice, and you are entertaining the idea of going abroad and being brave and taking up space and learning and leaning into new cultures, Miss Flores and I are here to tell you to do it. Guess what? We miss 100% of the shots that we don't take. And it will always be no if we don't figure out if it's a yes. Can
I mention 2 other scholarship opportunities?
Yes, girl.
I want to get these educators some money. I want to get some opportunities.
Let's go. Money's out there. Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go. Tell us about it.
So the one that I think is really important and to be more widely spoken about in the Midwest is Fund for Teachers. I think it's an organization that is incredibly efficient. I think it's also a really novel concept. They give you, oftentimes it could be a varying amount, but oftentimes it's like around $5,000 to design your own professional development. And it could be international, it could be national, it could be a conference, it could be you doing your own research. Whatever it is, if you're an educator and you think you want to design a new unit, and you want some real artifacts, you want to go to a different country, grab, responsibly, of course, grab photos of a place or whatever it is, and you want to come back and you think that's going to fulfill you, or you think you just need like a mini sabbatical of like a couple weeks to go explore something new, and that will give you better insight into your Somali population of students or into your Spanish-speaking population of students, whatever it is. The experience is yours to create. And I just think it's so cool to give teachers autonomy to design their own thing and then give them the money and make them feel like confident professionals. Because I think in many careers, I think it's very easy to make people not feel as confident, or to have systems that make them feel like they're being viewed that way. Whatever it is, Fun for Teachers. It's a great program. It's available to you. I know they want applicants, especially applicants of color or who have multi-ethnic backgrounds, or who just teachers who don't think this opportunity is for you. This is. And then finally, I recently got, I think it was last year, a Be Great Together grant. Another wonderful organization focuses on giving people who are doing work the funds to continue doing that work. And so we received that with the Paseo Dual Language Program, $10,000. They surprised me with a check and everything. And I'm just so I admire that organization so much, and their founder. They're just great mentors, and I'm just so grateful for these types of opportunities where we really put teachers in a position to grow, and we really invest in them and people. Even though I think there's just so many things that are systematically wrong with how we treat and compensate teachers. These are some organizations that are trying to make it a little bit better.
And so what was that last organization, the one that you just mentioned, called?
Be Great Together.
Be Great Together. I'm about to put this on the screen for real. I am not
You
kidding.
You should. I think applications are open. I believe.
I'm going to put this on the screen here. We're just dropping a lot of gems here. We're dropping some scholarship opportunities and grants and all of that. We've got a lot of love coming up in the chat here. We've got Dr. Blackney talking about, yes, we definitely need to take up space. Maritza coming back saying, we need the links. Thanks for sharing. This is definitely what we are here for. Definitely needed a resource to allow educators to develop and be world learners. And it's like, there's so many opportunities that are out there. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think I feel tension with it sometimes, I feel like, a lot of times, almost once or twice a year, I'm applying for a grant. There are lots of bus grants. There's lots of supply grants. There's lots of, grants in private organizations, national grants, international grants. I feel like a lot of my time is spent thinking about, okay, I need translating materials. I need headphones. I need, all of these things to make sure that my students have the type of education that I would be proud that my kids have, or someone else's kids. I want that. I want the best for them. And when I'm so thankful that I've been able to, all of these grants are things that I've done and that I can personally vouch for. And yet I still feel tension sometimes when I think about like, oh, I really feel like I have to apply for these grants. Why is it that I have to seek opportunities like this to do what I think is almost necessary,
I love it.
I think it's complicated, but these are the people doing the right work and some great work. So I'm very proud to share these names.
Yes, absolutely. And I know we've been spending a lot of time on this, but I don't come across too many, folks like you that like are just so like-minded in that space. Like me, I am so drawn, and I don't want to use this word, but almost obsessed with really finding different fellowship spaces, affinity spaces, grants, scholarships,
Same.
opportunities.
Yep.
Because once you tap into some of these sources, that I feel like is a fundamental right for all of us to have access to them,
Yeah.
your world will change.
Yeah.
You're going to be exposed to new cultures, to new best practices. You're going to work on your identity and who you are as an educator, as someone who wants to positively contribute to this world, to the world of education. Come on now, I get fired up just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it really is. And here's what else that I've seen and that I've learned, and I'm sure you could testify to this as well. Many of these spaces are underrepresented. And so that's why there's such a push for diverse applicants, because these are underrepresented spaces where we need to take up space and where we need to represent the cultures that will be engaging, the diverse and robust student populations that we are returning to. Come on now. And one last one before we pivot, because we still got a couple of things that we got to talk about. And maybe I'll just shelve one for next time, because hey, this is where we're at right now, gassing up the people. Listen, get out there, apply, do those online searches. ProFellow is a great online search engine that really provides a lot of fellowships, a lot of grants, a lot of scholarships, a lot of research opportunities in one space. ProFellow, I could put that on the screen in just a second. But one last space that we shared was Storytellers for Change.
Yeah.
And I showed up to your ceremony and you came in virtually.
I did.
I flew down to Kansas City because I was doing some things there. I had an in-studio podcast with this one, LEC Live. And then I was a keynote somewhere else. And then I was like a closing commenter, throwing some poetry for your Storytellers for Change celebration. And I was so glad to have been there. But shout out to Storytellers for Change, which is another fellowship. Catch them online, catch them on LinkedIn, catch them on Insta. They are creating safe spaces and brave spaces for folks to be able to craft their stories in an effort to provoke social change. Come on, somebody. Love it, love it, love it.
Seriously.
Come on.
Luis is that might be the organization I'm most excited about right now. And I promise everybody, I'm not getting any like supplemental paper. This is just
We are not.
This is coming from my personal experiences. I'm so proud of Luis, and I'm so honored to be a part of that cohort. Another life altering experience was being a part of the Storytellers for Change cohort. I truly that was an incredible experience to be in community with others. And like you're saying, Sophia, I think when people see, opportunities come up in newsletters, apply for this grant or this fellowship or this a group, I think we tend to think like, oh, I don't have time for that. What is this thing? Is this an extra book club? What is this? I signed up for it looking for community. I even reached out and asked, like, is this something that you'd want, like a white Latina to apply for? Would I be taking somebody's space? Is this a space for me? They said, absolutely, go for it. And it ended up being just such a powerful experience for me personally, and just such an emotional experience, and I think empowering experience for the group together. I've never been in, my father lost his mother when he was in his mid-20s. And I'm named after her. My name's Olivia Carlota, and her name is Carlota Olivares, which is where Olivia comes from, is her surname. And I never got to be in community with a lot of like Latinas. I'm just around a lot of Latinos. My father, my grandfather. I lost my aunt when I was in Argentina, I believe. And so I kind of missed this connection, this like matriarchy that I always sought after. And a large portion of our cohort was female identifying, and I just really adored being in that group. And I was scared. I thought they wouldn't accept me for some reason. I was worried, and they just wrapped their arms around me, and we grew together, fostering our stories and our understandings of self. until we culminated in this final performance that you saw that I performed from Spain. Like, I think I sent in the video earlier, and then I stayed up really late at night to watch it premiere.
I loved it. I loved your story. I love the complexities of it. I love the nuances of it. And again, there's something so powerful and something so magnificent to be said about crafting your story and about your story of self and centering that and really being able to articulate your story in a way that it can provoke and promote social change and reform. And for me, that was really important, being at the intersection of so many different spaces and really having an opportunity to amplify voices. I really leaned into Storytellers for Change, as I know you did as well, to help me to be able to craft my story, my lived experiences and the lived experiences of my students, right? And my cultural identity and my cultural landscape. Crafting all of those experiences was not easy. And the art of storytelling is not an easy art form, but yet it can be simple in the end, right? Once we share it from our heart, once we know where we want to begin, where we want to land it, and how we want our audience to feel after they hear it. So shout out to Storytellers for Change and for Fullbright and for you being just someone who is relentless and resilient in these spaces and having the courage to apply and apply again. It's not an easy feat. And so I just wanted to lift you up in this space and let you know that we're all very proud of you. And thank you for your work. Thank you for your work that you've done in each of those spaces. And I'm just so happy to hear that it left such an imprint on you.
Oh, yeah.
But listen, we've got to pivot. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think that my experiences, especially with my multilingualism, with understanding my multi-ethnic identity, being in education, you really have to come with your very authentic and genuine self. And I think that's always a journey for a lot of people. But I'm very proud of the progress that I made, even, just through some of these experiences. I'm really excited for what's to come. And I'm really excited to be a part of this with my students, of like making sure that people who have diverse experiences, and I mean that in every sense of the word, making sure that they're coming forward and sharing their stories so that others feel represented and they can feel emboldened and empowered too. I'm so grateful for experiences I have, and please keep up to date with me. I can't wait to share some more coming up soon.
I love that. And so speaking of your students, let's pivot to your classroom. So right now, tell us about your role in the classroom. I know you're in the bilingual education front. And there's this stat that I was looking at the other day, and it said the percentage of public school students in the US who are ELs increased overall between the fall of 2010, 4.5 million students, to the fall of 2020 to 5 million students. That's a big jump. And we're estimating that is going to continue to increase with newcomers coming from different countries. And obviously, our world is in an uprising right now with war and with conflict. And it really creates this moment in time for folks to disband, right, and to migrate into different countries, some being in the US. But what do you think about the implications of that statistic as it relates to the classroom, this robust amount of newcomers and multilingual learners that we need to work with dignity and with justice in the classroom?
I think it just exemplifies that we are in a global community. I think it's really easy to think that the United States is isolated in some way, that it's exception in some way. We're just, another country on a planet, right? And the idea that we have an increase in ELLs just speaks to, I think, the future strength of our country. I see ELLs as being incredibly, it's just a great opportunity. Multilingual learners, for example, my students are doing extremely well. And if we can wrap around, support, affirm ELLs, then we will have multilingual learners, and we will have even more empathy and cultural exchange and understanding in our country. Mm-hmm. And I think that's actually exactly what the United States needs, is to feel, to fully embrace, not tolerate, not be fearful of, but just fully embrace our tradition of cultural exchange. And I think that also comes with acknowledging histories of oppression, of horrible crimes and things like that. And with that healing, we can, completely embrace our ELLs. I mean, it's just so common to be a multilingual person everywhere else in the world. I think the United States needs to embrace the fact that this has been a longstanding tradition in our country, is to be multilingual.
And I love what you said, and I put it on the screen for those who are listening and not able to watch in the moment. Fully embrace and not tolerate other cultures. I think that that is a very powerful statement. And I think that that is, as you're stating, something that our country needs and something that the world needs. And this isn't a new shift, right? We have been what is called the melting pot, the tossed salad. We have been a diverse country for many years, for decades, centuries even. But obviously, it's how are we going to embrace it now versus tolerate? I love that. I love that, our Secretary of Education, I talk about him a lot because he's Boricua, Dr. Miguel Cardona. I appreciate the representation in a very high office like the U.S. Department of Education, which is where I'm headed in January. So pray for your girl. And he's pushing this idea of multilingualism is a superpower. And that's something that I'm going to lean into with my fellowship with the U.S. Department of Education that starts in January. Thank you. And I am the only Latina in that national cohort. And we all have to do a capstone presentation where we're examining and we're interrogating certain topics that are really important to us within the realm of education and also aligned to the priorities of the Department of Education. And so tell me all what you think. This is what I want to examine. Yes, this is a working title. This is a working title. So tell me all what you think. Your girl needs support. I'm going to be examining, interrogating, and investigating the intersectionality of teacher trauma, a leaky pipeline, and the bilingual classroom. And I want to argue that those nebulous spaces that are in between these three issues are so interconnected that if we go to those gray and abstract spaces, we will be able to cure and to help the other piece. Case in point, we cannot address the broken teacher pipeline if we do not address teacher trauma and how it leans so far into teacher burnout and attrition. It's not even funny, primarily for teachers of color. We cannot address the need for more certified ELL endorsed and bilingual educators if we don't address that the pipeline, once cured, will attract diverse teachers that oftentimes lean into the bilingual education and want to be a part of the bilingual education classroom because of their robust cultural backgrounds, because of their cultural responsiveness, disrupting the text, bringing in, amplifying the cultural landscapes of the students and even their cultural identities that are in front of them. So I want to argue all of these pieces and say, hey, if we heal one, we could heal the other. If we address this one, we'll address all three. And I know I have a large task, but I'm really excited about it. And it really leans into, that bilingual education classroom and diversifying that teacher pipeline and really addressing the trauma that often times teachers experience when they're boots on the ground, proximate to these issues, and really leaning into the work. I'll pause there because I get really crazy, passionate about it. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge all of those topics and how they connect together. I would add that I will include maybe in this umbrella of teacher trauma, maybe factors that like LEC does address often, which is different reasons for why maybe people aren't entering the profession, or like you're saying, leave so early. Trauma, of course, is something involved. And I think there's something to be said also for the way in which education is structured in the United States, how it's compensated. I often bring up the fact that I feel almost irresponsible in my profession. I know that I'm determined to be a provider for my family and future family. And it's almost, it is irresponsible in a lot of ways to pursue my passion for education, especially in public schools. I love KCPS. KCPS is doing a fabulous job. And especially my school, Paseo Academy. Shout out to the Paseo Pirates. I'm so proud of our school, our leadership team, and the direction of our dual language immersion program is just fabulous. It's incredible. But it's difficult for me to grapple with being almost a teacher of 10 years and with the struggle of thinking about compensation. Is it responsible to be a teacher when, I could be earning a salary that would provide me a better safety net, that would provide me better savings. All of my friends are in professions that do compensate them significantly more than mine. And of course, considering Missouri, that's another factor. So just in terms of salary and cost of living and things like that. So I think it's a difficult conundrum. And I think for me, that's something that I think about a lot of times. And I wonder if that could be something to add or consider in that first umbrella that you were discussing.
Absolutely. There's so much to be said about teachers being undercompensated and overworked. And there's so many different organizations that are on the ground that are really trying to impact policy to increase those salaries from state to state. So, absolutely. That will definitely be part of the conversation. That's definitely part of why the pipeline is broken. And there's so much to be said there, right? Giving teachers the honor and the dignity that they deserve as working professionals and practitioners, and showing that compensation to reflect that. Otherwise, guess what we got to do? We got to run out and apply and get these grants, and we got to. That's why
we're doing it anyway. We're gonna be here. We're gonna be here
regardless.
We got to keep going.
Yep,
got to keep doing the work. Yeah.
But I think that that's such a good point, and you definitely have to lean into other avenues. And I'm coming to discover in my 15 years of advocacy work that policy is a big piece, to get to where the power is, and to lean in. And I once heard a phrase, if they don't leave you a chair at the table, bring a folding chair. And I like to say, I am the table. I am the damn table, because guess what? I deserve to be here. I deserve to take up space. I will hold space, and I will tell the lived experiences of my stakeholders and my 15 years in urban education. This isn't theory. This is personal. Anecdotal evidence is just as powerful and important as data, as research, as those citations that we have going. I digress because I'm already fired up and I'm not even in DC, but you know what? That's all good.
It's all my normal conversations daily.
Right? Thank you. See,
this is dinner with Olivia. This is
exactamente dinner with Miss G too. See, so we're gonna have to circle back because I will be in KC. I'm gonna manifest that because I love y'all, and we're gonna have to get that dinner going.
A lot of powerful things happen in KC.
I love it. Absolutely. Listen, say less, because I'm visiting KC for the past couple of years because of the wonderful things that you all are doing down there in the school building and also in these nonprofit spaces. I'm just drawn to it. So kudos to y'all for the work y'all doing over there. But speaking of work, and here's my last question before we go into what I call rapid fire and then fill in the
Oh,
blank.
yes.
Yes. What's your vision for the future professionally? I know that's a loaded question as we're coming to a close, but what's Olivia Miss Flores, this amazing human, caring about the classroom, caring about the world, caring about your students, caring about culture and the art of storytelling and all the beautiful things that you support and get behind and embody? What does the future look like for you?
Well, I think to think about the future, I have to think about where I've been, and I've been gathering. Like my
Mm,
20s were all about like gathering skills and experiences. I went from I got to teach with a lovely community, Chicago South Side, for 3 years. I was teaching college students in Columbia for 2 years. The Green Fellowship brought me to Kansas City, where
mm,
I've been teaching in Title I schools for 4 years now. 4 years here in Kansas City, and then all of these wonderful opportunities to travel to Spain and Argentina and Colombia. I think I've been gathering experiences to get ESOL certified, to get my master's in teaching, learn Spanish better, gain better fluency,
mm.
leadership experience, and now being here at Paseo with this wonderful, groundbreaking, the only of its kind in this region program, middle school, high school Spanish immersion. It's so invigorating, and it's making me flex muscles that I never thought I could or gave myself permission to before. But it's really exciting to see kind of a lot of my interests merge in this way. Uh, I'm a non-native Spanish speaker. I'm really excited to get some native Spanish speakers here at Paseo. And I think when you're talking about what multilinguals need, and to be clear, they're not just ELLs. Like especially, for example, our program, the students who are identified as ELL exit the program, exit their ELL status at twice the rate as those who are not in multilingual or in Spanish immersion classes. So the benefits of like dual language are just incredible. Like
That's right.
strongest performers in every tested subject, youngest kids in the last couple of years in Missouri to receive dual credit. They'll graduate with a Spanish minor or within 2 or 3 credits of a Spanish minor when they graduate high school. So they're just so set up for success, and it's so incredible. But I never thought that I would be a part of that, a white Latina, non-native Spanish speaker. But it's really, I'm coming at it. I mean, I kind of fell into this position, but I'm coming at it realizing that this is actually so perfect for me to be participating in a program that I would have benefited from so much if I had had the opportunity as a child to flex both of my cultures in the same school day. I mean,
Yes.
imagine, and to have that realization that it's great that everyone actually is multi-dimensional in their identities. You don't have to be 50-50 mixed like I am or be multilingual necessarily, but no matter what, actually everyone benefits. And we have native speakers and non-native speakers, Spanish speakers in our program. We have multilinguals who speak like 2 or 3 languages in our program. And
I love it.
having this program at Paseo, I just see how much it benefits the whole community, just being around so many languages. We have the largest deaf and hard of hearing program here too. So people are signing, their parents speak an indigenous language, they speak Spanish or they sign, it's just so dynamic. And I think from here, to get back to your question, I think I want to continue pursuing and pursuing this more. I see multilingual education as a way to make public education in the United States restorative, healing, culturally responsive. I think it's a way to reimagine education as something that doesn't strip kids of their creativity, that doesn't suppress identity in pursuit of like a homogenous atmosphere. I think education has done a lot of harm to kids. And I think participating in something like multilingual education, making it a norm in public ed in the United States, will actually get it back up to par on the international stage and make it supersede it. I think I see what we're doing in Kansas City as not something new, because Chicago, Alaska, cities in Arizona and Boston, New York, they've been doing dual language education forever. We have dual language Mandarin schools, dual language Spanish and Indigenous schools. I mean, it's not new, but something that we're doing here in Kansas City with recovery, like non-continuous bilinguals, with the college credit that we're doing, fostering like this identity of multilingualism within a school that's not just multilingual, but has a million different programs that are beautiful. I think we're doing something that the rest of the country can replicate. And I'm interested to see what more I can learn, potentially as a student, potentially as a lifelong Spanish learner. I'm curious to see what I need to be better prepared to help facilitate more multilingualism in U.S. public education.
Oh my gosh, you just said so many things that my heart was exploding. First of all, I'm a dual language mom. My daughter has been in dual language since kindergarten. She's in 4th grade right now. I am a very strong proponent of the dual language program. My esposo sits on the board, the school board of our daughter's district, the only Latino male. He's from El Salvador, 100%, and just really amplifying just the beauty of it, right? And my daughter, my mother-in-law lives here, and so my daughter, who doesn't speak a word of English, and so just having multiple generations in the house, and for her to be able to practice her Spanish, and my son too, and for her to be able to learn in Spanish, science and math. At first it was hard for her because she's like, Mom, like, I don't know these science terms in Spanish. And I'm like, that's where you have to lean on your teacher, and vamos a practicar en la casa. And she's like, okay, yo voy a practicar contigo. And just for us, and I know we need to pivot, and we're coming near the end, and thank you. We got our listening audience that's still hanging on with us. I feel like for my generation, we lost the language of Spanish, and I'm going to explain super quickly. I'm a daughter of immigrants. My father came from Mexico when he was 8. My mom came from the island of Puerto Rico when she was about 7. And though PR is a commonwealth, she still experienced similar, stories that folks from other countries have experienced, some of which were negative. And the first message that my mom got walking in a Chicago public school with her friend at 8 years old, speaking Spanish to her friend, a teacher stopped her and said, "We speak English here." And that was the beginning, right, of my mom feeling at such a young age that her language was a deficit instead of an asset. And so growing up, both my mother and my father received similar messages. And then when they got married and had children, guess what was the dominant language in the home? English. Yeah. And so common. And so very, very common. And so I want to make it a point for my children to get their language back, and eat the foods, arroz con gandules, pollo guisado, like tostones, like you will be immersed in our cultures, pupusas, tortas, flautas, like
I love it.
And that to me is just so important, and it's so important to so many families that you're serving. And to your point, multilingualism and bilingual education benefits everyone, and it is so needed, so necessary. And I'm so glad that you see that as part of your future. We need more renegades to continue to support and to carry on the legacy of bilingual education in the K through 12 space, because it's only going to benefit our students and families, our teachers and staff, and our world as a result. We've got just a couple more comments in the chat here. We got my friend Maritza who's saying, Olivia, look up Rev Ed, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Oh yeah, I'm there. I live around the block.
You are around the block, right?
Yeah, very proud of the work.
Educativa, OC, Rev Ed, otherwise known, who's in real close contact with the LEC family as well. We just made her hungry. She was saying, yep, talking about all that amazing food. And then she led on to say, my girl Maritza from Philly, 95% of the jobs that I have gotten are due to me being biliterate. So being biliterate, having multiple languages is definitely an asset in a global competitive economy. We've got to prepare our students. And while we're at it, preserve and amplify their cultural landscape and not cause any unnecessary harm than what unfortunately our school system has. But we're part of the revolution. We're part of the future. And the time is now. So I am so excited to see what your future is going to look like. And
thank you.
We are here for it. So listen, we are going to be running over to our rapid fire round.
Okay.
I'm excited for this. I call it rapid fire. It's this or that, right? So you can't do too much.
I don't subscribe to binary thinking. Okay, I'll try.
Right, I know, right? So it's just you're like, look, I don't subscribe to that, but I'm gonna play your game. It's just for fun. It's just for kicks. But let's see. I mean, I always like to hear from my guests what they think about certain categories, right? Like sports or music or food. So we'll start with sports. Okay. So I don't know. Is that too loud? Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with sports. Okay. The first one is Kansas City Royals or Kansas City Monarchs. Which
Monarchs.
Monarchs. Okay.
I've been dying to get like a Monarchs jersey and I haven't yet, and I really want one. So I've always wanted to get a t-shirt.
All right, the Monarchs. You got some love here tonight. Okay.
Absolutely.
Going general, zooming out, basketball or football? What
Football. My dad used to play football in the front of our house with my sister and I all the time. We learned how to tackle really early.
I love that. Football. Okay, cool. All right, Super Bowl or World Cup?
Ooh, World Cup. Paseo has a World Cup that we do, Latin American World Cup. We're trying to get the Currents to come through. So Currents, if you're watching, can't wait to have you at Paseo.
Yes, Paseo World Cup. Let's get it. Woo, woo.
Yes.
All right, now we're going to transition into the music category. Let's see where you at. Let's see what's happening. Okay. Peso Pluma or Bad Bunny?
Bad Bunny. Sorry. Thank you. Next question.
She said Bad Bunny. Next question. Titi me pregunta. Hey, that's it. Bad Bunny.
I respect him not switching to English, keeping in Spanish, making people rise to that occasion. I love it.
He's like, I'm sorry, pero yo voy a recibir my award aquí en español. Okay, figure it out. Because we got to figure it out. Okay, I love it. Salsa or Latin pop?
Ooh, I'm really into the salsa game right now. I've lived in Colombia for a couple years now. Now you know. So I learned a lot of salsa. I love salsa. I think the salsa scene in Kansas City is actually pretty big.
Okay. See, when I go down there manifesting for my next keynote, for my dinner with Miss Flores, then she's going to take me to somewhere where we can dance.
Contact me. I got you.
After set, let's get it. Okay. Carol G or Alicia Keys?
I'm going to write in Rosalia. But I also have mad respect for Alicia Keys.
Okay. I know, right? That's a hard one.
I have bad respect for her. But I do want to write in Rosalia.
Rosalia, I love her. She's on my playlist. Loki,
Yeah.
she really is. And she
Super
has that soft, soothing voice, and it's very melodic, and it's beautiful. Okay.
She's got like flamenco training. That's why she's like.
Por eso. Okay. All right. I'm feeling it. Okay, now we're on to the food. So my girl Maritza, who's still on, you're going to be hungry now. You're going to be hungry. This is a food story. Tacos or enchiladas?
Tacos. Pastor, al pastor. Let's go.
Okay, see, because she already know which kind she wants. She said a pastor, okay? Yo prefiero de camarón, de pescado. See, I'm a pescatarian.
Yeah.
Okay, but taquitos. I just love how versatile they are, right? They could just go in so many different directions. Okay.
You can't beat it on the street. Just you can't beat it.
Yes. All day. Okay. Quesadillas or guacamole?
Guacamole, like someone who just grilled some peppers and then they blend. I don't even care how they do it. Make some salsa with some fresh guac.
It's like everything as an appetizer, right? I know.
I can eat that as a meal.
Like a meal. I know, right? Like, and my sister-in-law, she's got a recipe. She puts queso fresco on top. I'm like in heaven. Okay. Churros. Let's go dessert. Churros or flan?
Ooh, no.
She goes, no.
I was like, okay, churros. And then you said flan, but I made flan before. Actually, I made flan in Argentina, like one of my first experiences. Oh, I love flan. I think I'm gonna go with flan. Yeah, I'm gonna go with flan.
Flan is amazing. And then they have the different flavors. Or do you go classic?
Classic.
Classic. I know there's absolutely nothing wrong with the classic. It's just refined. It's delicious. It's delicate. Toast. Totally. Last category that I call justice. Going into more like justice type thoughts and ideas. What the world needs most right now is healing or justice.
I feel like I think they can both be the same. I feel like they go like this. I feel like both go like this. I think for healing to happen, justice happens, and that healing is a form of justice.
I love it.
And redemption and growth. So I feel like they have to go together.
They have to go together.
I didn't answer your question, but justice is needed to heal.
I love it. Yes, and we will. Just one heart at a time. That we pray. What I want to offer the world first is love or grace? Last question.
Love. I mean, love can look different, but I think a lot of times when especially when you're coming from this, like for kids, you know what I'm talking about. Like when someone's struggling, you look at them and you're like, they need some love. They need me to believe in them or to love them. So I think love looks different.
I love that.
But it's the core of it's always love.
The core of it's always love. Absolutely. At the core of everything that we should do should be love, right? As our sole motivation. Awesome. Well, our time has come to an end. This has been amazing. I just have one more thing called fill in the blanks. And then I'm going to cut you loose. Our time is dwindling. Thank you all for those who have hung in there with us as we shared our hearts about the state of education and hearing our guest journey here tonight. Fill in the blank for me. What I really desire for the rest of the school year is?
For the rest of the school year? Confidence for my kids. I want them to believe in themselves.
I love that. Confidence, agency, power. I love that. What early career teachers need right now is?
Starbucks gift card, foot massage, and a true mentor, like someone who looks at them and says, "You got this," and really means it.
I love it. All of the above. I want my students to leave my classroom every year feeling
special, like special enough that like someone loves them and lots of people love them, and special enough that they got a little spark in them that they need to tend to, you know.
I love that, because most of the challenges that we face as educators, not all, but a lot of the challenges is really giving our students that confidence and that agency and just allowing them to see their own potential and how special they truly are.
Yeah.
Just as they are, like not
Right.
even
Not that they need to be
Come on.
huge stars and it's a failure if they're not like they're so special in the sense that they're better than other people, but that there's value in who they are specifically.
I love that. I love that. Miss Olivia, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for coming on board and for sharing your journey and for blessing us with your thoughts and your ideas. I can't wait to see all the great work that's going to come flowing from you and your classroom. You got a fan and support in Ms. G. So whatever you need, let me know. I'm here as a resource for you. I'm going to manifest. I'm going to say it here, everybody. I'm going to Kansas City. I don't know for what yet, but somebody's going to invite me.
Let's go. You're invited.
And
You're
I'm invited.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. Un placer, de verdad.
I love it. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your school year. You are something. You are a force to be reckoned with. So keep shining bright.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see you soon. And don't leave, everybody, because now is a second with Sofia Speaks. I always like to leave with some words here that I really want us to think about as we leave our time here together. So allow me a moment with you that I like to call a second with Sofia Speaks. Man, I remember what it was like being a teacher within the first 10 years. I remember the thrill, but also the chill. I can recall the terror and yet joys of everyday teaching and walking into the unknown from bell to bell. I remember being both scared and confident, determined yet dipped underneath oceans of work, attitudes, gratitudes, and a calling. Some may argue that it's a career and not a calling. I do my job and I clock out. Yet for the other ones, the soldiers, the renegades who masquerade this idea that education is activism and we are the ones that we are waiting for. I argue in the first 5 and even the first 10, you shall determine that. Some leave, but some stay and play with the idea of good trouble, such necessary trouble. I am she, you are he. And so to all my EDU justice warriors in the fight, I see you and I am with you until the end. Until next time, people, I say people, please keep shining, keep loving, and keep believing that we are truly the ones that we are waiting for. Until next time, signing off for now. And as the late John Lewis once said, never ever be afraid to make some noise and get into some good trouble, necessary trouble. See ya.